What's up, you guys? My name is Aubrey and this is my channel, and today I want to talk about the EIDL grant, and I want to talk about some of the alternative grants that you can pursue if you're somebody who could not get funded through the EIDL grant program. So in this video, I'm going to be walking you through some of these non-traditional paths. I'm going to give you some tips and pointers so that if you're somebody who has a business that needs funding, you have some different resources to turn to. So let's get started. So one thing that many of the viewers of this channel don't know is the fact that outside of this YouTube channel, outside of making videos every day for you guys, I actually have what would be considered more of a typical job. I work at a consulting firm on a kind of part-time and contractual basis where I speak with individuals who own businesses and I help them expand their business. And one thing I've learned in my time of working at consulting is the fact that there are funding options out there for everybody. If you need funding for your business, there is a way to achieve that. There are just some very specific steps that you need to take in order for that to be a reality. And that's really what I would like to talk about in this video, because the pandemic has brought in SBA loans and grants and recovery aid to the forefront of the discussion, and it's made people aware of all of the different funding options that exist in present day April of 2021. But the fact is, the recovery grants, being the PPP and the EIDL program, they aren't the only type of funding that exists out there, and there is tons of other options that you can pursue. You just need to look for them. So the first thing I want to talk about in this video is I want to touch on some of the COVID-19 related grants. These are grants that exist because of the pandemic, or at least are being distributed right now because of the pandemic. And if you have not been able to take advantage of one of these and you are eligible, this is probably where I would start. Number one is the Paycheck Protection Program. This is a program that I've talked on so much on this channel, so I'm just going to touch on it here. But if you are somebody that has a business, if you can prove that you have that business through your tax returns, and whether you are a solo entrepreneur or have employees, you could potentially apply and be eligible for the PPP. The PPP was designed to keep people employed and out of the unemployment line, and the loan has been very effective in doing that. And if you spend the PPP funds the way that they were intended to be spent, it can become a forgivable grant, meaning you do not have to pay it back. Number two is the EIDL program. Again, many of you guys know what this is, so I will just touch on it. But the EIDL program has a loan and a grant portion of the program. The grant portion is up to $10,000 of funding that you do not have to pay back. It is considered to be free money. The loan is a low interest 30-year term loan that you can get up to $500,000. You can apply for this through the SBA's website. Next is the Shuttered Venue Operators Grant, or otherwise known as SVOG. This is a grant that is given out to people or businesses in kind of the entertainment niche. So things like talent representatives, bars, concert halls, movie theaters, some museums, some zoos, and some aquariums, and different types of venues in that category. With this type of grant, the Shuttered Venue Operators Grant, you can get a portion of your 2019 revenue given back to you in the form of a grant because of the impact that COVID-19 has had on your business. Again, this is one that is very niche. You have to be in this industry in order to qualify, but if you do qualify, it can be an invaluable resource. Once again, you can apply for this through the SBA's website. Next is the Restaurant Revitalization Fund, otherwise known as RRF, and this fund is a grant program set up for restaurants that have been affected by COVID-19. The amount that restaurants and businesses are eligible for through this fund will depend on gross receipts, so different businesses will be eligible for different amounts. A total of $28.6 billion has been allocated to this fund, a portion of that being allocated specifically to small restaurants. Next is the SBA debt relief. So there are different debt relief programs out there that can assist businesses that have taken out SBA loans. If you're somebody who has taken an SBA loan in the past, not including like the EIDL or the PPP, then you could potentially take advantage of this debt relief and have the SBA cover a certain number of months payment for you. So if you have an SBA loan that you had previously before the pandemic, I would definitely look into that. In addition to this federal aid, there are also a lot of states and counties out there that are offering COVID relief. Now, there are a lot of local governments that are taking COVID-19 aid into their own hands, and because of this, there are a lot of state and city-sponsored grant programs out there. Now, this is something that is far too broad for me to talk about in a whole lot of depth in this video because there are simply too many states and too many cities to be able to cover every single one of these. But if you are somebody who is interested in looking into whether or not your city and state has this type of program, I would either call your city council, call a local state representative, or simply look on Google local grants for blank city and state. If you search that on Google, you will find some information. So next is the question of what do you do if you're somebody who's already taken advantage of these grants and loans that I've just mentioned, or you've tried to take advantage of them, but you simply are not eligible? And the answer to that question is that you still have options available to you. And I'm going to be breaking those options down now. So the first question is, what niche and industry is your business in? And are there any grants and funding options available exclusively for your business and for your niche? Let me give you guys an example of this. For example, there are areas throughout the United States that do not have access to adequate childcare. And as a result, cities and states within those areas are offering grants and funding options to business owners and to entrepreneurs who are willing to go into those areas and open daycare centers because they are providing a much needed assistance to families that need childcare. And the government is willing to support that through the disbursement of grants and easy to access loans. This is one example that is a real life example. This actually does happen in different portions of the United States, but that is not the only type of example for those types of opportunities. If there is a specific niche and a specific industry that you want to be a part of, I would use the internet and I would try to search and see if there are specific grants and loan opportunities available for your specific industry. See if there are any funding opportunities out there. One great resource for this is grants.gov. They have a ton of different resources for industry-specific funding. Additionally is look at yourself and wonder, what do I bring to the table that people may be seeking out? For example, there are a lot of minority grants available out there. If you are a person of color, if you are a woman in STEM, for example, if you are a minority, then you most likely have grants and funding options available to you because of the fact that the world needs more minority entrepreneurs, more female entrepreneurs, more females in STEM. All of these things are a need, and the government and different private sector companies are willing to fund this need to make it a more normal thing. So for example, if you are a woman and you're wanting to start your own business and you're looking for a grant, then use Google and search grants for women-owned businesses or grants for female entrepreneurs. If you are a woman of color, then maybe search on Google grants for Black-owned female businesses. If you're a Native American or you have Native American heritage, then maybe search up business grants for Native Americans. There are so many different opportunities out there for things like race, things like ethnicity, things like sexual orientation, and so much more. And it really is important to look at yourself and see, okay, what do I bring to the table that may be seen as a uniqueness or maybe seen as something that is a minority, and how can I really use that in order to get these funding options? There are a lot of opportunities out there. You just need to make sure to be aware of these opportunities and then search on those. Next is company-sponsored grants. Company-sponsored grants and lending solutions is a great path to go down if you're somebody who's looking for a way to get financing. There are a lot of large companies out there that have grant programs to try to encourage entrepreneurship and try to encourage startups and technology and things like that. There are sponsored grant opportunities for companies like Lowe's, Coca-Cola, and so much more. It's just a matter of searching out there and trying to figure out what grants are available. If you use the resource that I mentioned earlier, grants.gov, you may be able to find some of these sponsored opportunities. Otherwise, if you use Google and search company-sponsored grants, then you may be able to find some really good resources. Another grant program that is not sponsored by a company, but is instead sponsored by the United States government is the SBA 8A program. Now, unlike some of the other opportunities that I've discussed in this video, the 8A program isn't a program that hands out cash. Instead, it's a program that hands out contracts. It is basically a way for small businesses to gain government contracts over larger corporations. And government contracts can be a huge game changer for businesses. Now, if you have a business that can align with some government contracts out there, I would highly encourage you to look into the 8A program, because it is an invaluable program for businesses wanting to grow and wanting to secure some of those high ticket contracts. And the last grant is a grant program through the National Association of the Self-Employed. The National Association of the Self-Employed, otherwise known as NASE, they not only have a grant program in their actual organization, but they can also steer you in the right direction for other funding and grant resources as well. If you're somebody who's self-employed, or if you're somebody who's wanting to start your own business, this could be a great route to turn to, because there are a ton of resources on their website, not just for grants and for funds, but also just for business resources in general. Honestly though, you guys, when it comes to securing money, there are so many different paths that you can go down. You can go down the traditional SBA loan route, you can go a non-traditional route, you can do peer-to-peer lending, you could go through a grant like one of the ones I've mentioned in this video. There are so many different ways to get money out there. Your options are truly limitless. So if you're somebody who's wanting to start a business, if you're somebody who's wanting to grow your business, but you're struggling financially, I would encourage you to look into some of the resources that I've spoken about today. And I would encourage you to do your own research to figure out what different resources you can take advantage of. Because the question isn't if you have funding options available to you, it's just a matter of which ones you're going to pursue. So with that being said, you guys, if you have any questions, comments, or if you have anything to add, let me know down in the comment section below. And while you guys are at it, make sure to hit the like button, hit the subscribe button, and hit the notification bell. And I will see you guys in the next video.